Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and participants, welcome to our webinar on foreign direct investment in the MENA region. My name is Alex Saleh, and I'm the managing partner of GLA, a prominent regional law firm with offices in the UAE, KSA, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and Egypt. It's an honor to have you all join us today for what promises to be an enlightening discussion on the evolving landscape of foreign investment in our region. Today, we are specifically looking at KSA, Kuwait, and Qatar. As we gather here today, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment in the MENA region's economic development. Over the past several years, we've witnessed significant liberalization in the foreign direct investment framework, which has fundamentally transformed how foreign companies can establish and operate within our markets. Historically, foreign investors face numerous hurdles, often limited to holding only a minority stake in local businesses, capped at 49%, or relying on local agents to navigate the complexities of the business environment. These structures, while commonplace, did not provide adequate control or autonomy for foreign companies, ultimately stifling the potential for substantial investment inflows. Recognizing the need for change, many local governments have taken proactive steps to reform their investment policies. The establishment of foreign investment offices and the introduction of new legislation aimed at attracting foreign capital are a testament to this commitment. As a result, we now see pathways for foreign companies to gain 100% ownership in their operations under various circumstances across many GCC countries. This shift not only enhances the investment climate, but also fosters a more competitive and dynamic environment. As a 30-year veteran in the GCC, I've seen these changes firsthand. Prior, from a government policy standpoint, the goal was to empower the merchant families across the region and to ensure there's a competitive playing field so they would have a chance to develop their businesses and so forth. And that did. Today, some of the most vibrant merchant families in the world are located in places like the UAE, Kuwait, Saudi, and so forth. Now the policies of the government are a little bit different now that it's grown up and we have larger populations, and there's a need to ensure that that the young talent among the market is gainfully employed. So now we see a shift from a policy standpoint to allow 100% owned companies, knowing that there's no longer a need for the agency / distributor model, but at the same time, it gives the government's tax revenue opportunities with these new entities coming in, and it ensures that these entities ensures that their local populations will have employment opportunities with these new entities as well, working for global multinationals. That's kind of the policy behind the change. Today, we're honored to have a representative from the Kuwait Direct Investment Promotion Authority, KDIPA, Ms. Bashir Al-Husseini, who will share insights into why Kuwait's become an increasingly attractive destination for foreign investment. Her perspective will be invaluable as we explore the specific incentives and initiatives that Kuwait offers to foreign investors and how these align with broader regional trends. Joining us as well today are three of our esteemed colleagues from GLA & Co. Partners Mohammed Al-Mindil from KSA, Dean Jaloudi from Qatar, and Mohammed Al-Awadi from Kuwait. Each of them brings a wealth of experience and knowledge in their respective markets, and they'll help navigate the recent developments in FDI, as well as the key limitations and restrictions that companies may face from an operational standpoint. We will also highlight common pitfalls during the FDI application process, providing you with some practical insight to help you better prepare for your investment journeys. As we delve into these topics, I encourage all participants to reflect on the implications of these developments for your own business strategies. The opportunities presented by the liberalization of FDI laws are vast, but they also come with some unique challenges that require careful consideration. Following our discussions, we're going to conclude with a Q&A section, allowing you to engage directly with our panel of experts and seek clarification at any points of interest. Your participation is crucial as it not only enriches our dialogue, but also helps us collectively understand the evolving landscape of foreign investment in the MENA region. Thank you once again for being here today. I look forward to an engaging and informative session as we explore the exciting opportunities that FDI presents in our region. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Ms. Bashir Al-Husseini in terms of Kuwait FDI opportunities. Bashir?
Thank you, Alex. It is our greatest pleasure to be able to join this webinar, and it's an honor to be able to represent Kuwait and KDIPA, our esteemed guest. My name is Bashir Al-Husseini, and I will be taking a few moments to introduce the recent opportunities and mega project that Kuwait has to offer, as well as what are KDIPA's role in facilitating your business in Kuwait, and how we may be partners with you in helping you establish an entity in Kuwait. So I think it's only fair enough to begin with just identifying, very similar to other GCC countries, Kuwait has a specific vision we aim to achieve by 2035. We're concentrating on 7 main pillars. Those pillars concentrate within the economy, the healthcare system, the infrastructure. Now, since we've begun, there has been a lot of improvements. Today, as I will be moving on and explaining a little bit of our mega opportunities, I'll explain a bit on how much we've covered and how much we have going on, and what exactly is KDIPA's role in achieving Kuwait's pillar and the vision of 2035. Now, it's also fair enough to identify that each country has their unique proposition. Within Kuwait, we do highlight a couple of aspects. We're very rich in unique and educated young youth that cater within the private sector and that help achieve Kuwait within the main pillars, as well as, of course, we do have some competitive advantages. For example, when we take a look at the electricity and water cost and fees compared to other countries, specific aspects that help Kuwait identify as a unique position. Of course, in accordance to Kuwait's location, where we do lie, our neighboring countries, and how we can play a very effective role in trade as well. Now, to move on into mega opportunities, when 2035 has begun and when the new vision has been laid off, there has been a couple of sectors that we're very focused on. Today, I'm very proud to announce that those sectors have expanded. We've recently been looking at renewable energy. Kuwait is looking to invest in one of the major renewable energy within the solar panels in the Shigaya area. That is something that we are definitely targeting investors towards, as well as another very mega project within the electricity, the Ministry of Electricity, that are related to power plants. Within the couple past years, there has been a lot of infrastructure development within the healthcare and pharmaceutical sectors. I believe KDIPA also has been a part of that advancement, and we're very proud to announce that. KDIPA has also recently had a very successful memorandum of understanding with the central bank, and that is only to facilitate the fintech investment in Kuwait and to have a lot of more foot within the investment of e-payments and such as well as to facilitate the investors' process, even in getting into tenders throughout all of those sectors. KDIPA has also had a very successful memorandum of understanding with the tender agency. And we have specific exemptions and expectations for the investors themselves that will very much facilitate their interest into specific tenders and projects. So we do have a very detailed list of specific projects that you as investors might be interested in, and that is something that we definitely will be able to partner with you and assist you throughout that journey. Now, in order to tell you how we could assist you in detail, Let me identify and explain KDIPA's law. Once KDIPA has been issued in 2013, there has been a lot of favorable outcome, such as the time and the duration has been very much drastically reduced in receiving your license, in engaging in operation and engaging in business in Kuwait. And most importantly, you do have a specific account manager that will be catered to you throughout the entire process. That account manager will be responsible to your company and to you to help you with the establishment of your company, but not only that, also to help you with the aftercare process, and as long as you have a stay in Kuwait. That account manager is also responsible in the case where you do not have a company listed under KDIPA. We do play a huge role in assisting you with any inquiry you do have in Kuwait. KDIPA did introduce a very set, transparent list of criteria that I'll be explaining within this presentation that I'll come to. But most importantly, I think that the new law and regulations have brought a lot of favorable improvements in easing the process of doing business in Kuwait. Within those changes, we've introduced incentives and guarantees. As Alex has introduced at the beginning of the presentation, one of the major aspects of having an FDI is now you're able to own up to 100% of your ownership. We do have, KDIPA has been allocated with specific lands, areas in Kuwait. We do provide land facilitation. In the very near future, we should be hearing a little bit more on that, and we'll be able to provide land for specific activities and specific investments that cater to those activities. Once you establish an entity in Kuwait, you will also have the opportunity to benefit from tax exemption. That's income tax exemption, of course, and that is 15% based on Kuwait's law. And you'll be able to be exempt of tax up to 10 years of your operation in Kuwait. In addition to that, if your business requires you to import any of your materials, spare parts, anything you need for that specific investment, you also may benefit from the 5% of custom duties exemption. And that is, of course, depending on how much your investment entity requires. And then we do have the benefits of bilateral treaties. Your company will always be protected in that terms. And you always have the opportunity and the freedom to bring in your foreign labor to engage in that the investment activity as long as you want, and the amount is unlimited. In terms of specific guarantees, we always guarantee you, and we take that extremely seriously. Your project information is always protected under KDIPA. Once you begin your operation, you will always have the right to transfer your capital and your earnings abroad. You will never be restricted specifically to have that in Kuwait. And most importantly, you are always protected from expropriation. Your license will never be expropriated, no matter what, unless it was a lawful action. And during your operation in Kuwait, if at any time you wish to transfer your ownership, you have the right to do so. So those are some of the guarantees and incentives. Of course, the services that we provide, they're endless. They're not things that we specifically list, but they are very much endless. Once you decide to establish an entity, we have a very flexible legal form. You'll be able to proceed with establishing what we call a Kuwaiti company, meaning that you may own 100% of your ownership without a Kuwaiti partner, but your company in Kuwait will be treated as a Kuwaiti company. Even within the GCC country, it will be treated and has the rights of a Kuwaiti company. There are three specific forms. Some of us may already are aware of those, which is either a limited liability, a partner of your choice. You can go as a single person company, or you can have it as a closed shareholding. So that's the first legal form that is available. The second legal form is you may establish a branch of your mother company in Kuwait, meaning that unlike the Kuwaiti company where it will be treated very much independent than the mother company, a branch is, you may also have it as 100% ownership, but it will directly be related to your mother company, meaning approvals, the activity, very much directed to the mother company. And then last but not least, we have the representative office. This is where if you're a bit hesitant into entering the market and having to go through all that process and having to establish a company, you do have the right for a year or two to have a representative office, conduct the research that you need, will be able to help you with that. And then once you are sure you wanted to establish an entity, KDIPA will help you transfer that from a representative office to either a branch or a Kuwaiti company. Now, if we come to take a look at what are the main differences, I would say something you might take into consideration is when applying for tender. In Kuwait, the tender agency might request specifically for a Kuwaiti company to enter that tender, and certain aspects or time they might request for a branch of a foreign company to enter that tender. So this is one of the things that we do take as part of our duty to go ahead and check and see what best fits your activity and your intentions. And we will also advise you accordingly as to which way to proceed that will be most beneficial to your company. So that's in general the legal forms. Now, you may engage in all of the activities in all of the sectors. However, according to the minister's decision that was released in 2015, there are 10 activities that I would rather call them excluded rather than negative list. Those activities, for the safety of the country, they are not allowed to be engaged 100% by a foreign investor. However, you may either have a partner to engage in those specific activities, which are 10 that are listed in front of you, or you may engage in supporting activities, and then you can engage in that with having 100%. So let me just give you an example. Real estate activities, such as buying and selling of real estate, that activity on its own is prohibited. But if you would want to engage in activities of developing real estate, you'll be able to engage in that. Another quick example is the extraction of crude petroleum. Now, the activity of extraction is unfortunately not allowed. But if you go ahead and do any supporting activities of crude petroleum, then you'll be able to engage in the activity with no issue. All right? So they're just 10 activities. They are considered to be the shortest list of activities. And we'll be more than glad to guide you through them when time comes. Now, every project that goes by KDIPA are evaluated based on 5 main aspects. They each have a sub-criteria. KDIPA does not evaluate our companies based on the capital nor the investment value. We do not take a look at it in terms of financially or from a financial aspect. We look at it from a quality aspect. And so that's why we have 5 main criteria that we evaluate. That includes the transfer of specific technology and know-how, the development of workforce in hiring Kuwaiti nationals and training them, having a role within market development and enhancing the SME local products and services, encouraging sustainable development, such as having a positive impact in society as well as the environment. And then lastly, diversifying the economy, which is our actual main goal, and to diverse that away from oil and gas sector and to diversify into as many sectors as we possibly can. So those are the 5 main criteria. They are defined and detailed very transparently under Decision 329 that we'll be more than glad to share with you. All right. So to conclude this whole aspect, it is a very easy first step in order to submit to KDIPA. You have to fill out an application request form. It's very similar to a CV of your company. And then you submit your business plan along with your legal documents. And then your account manager, on behalf of your company, will go through all of the relevant government authorities, and we will obtain your commercial license as well as your investment license. We'll address all of those issues, and we will have your company set up. You have a QR code on the screen presented to you. That will take you to the link where you'll be able to submit directly and see the licensing procedures. So at the beginning of my presentation, I kind of skimmed through and said that KDIPA will be presenting specific land location to our investors. KDIPA does have specific zones up in the north and south. Currently, the Abdeli zone, which is in the north of Kuwait, has completed the design phase. We are in the infrastructure phase. That should be completed very soon, and it will be announced, and investors will be able to submit for those specific lands. We will also be very specific in identifying the sectors and the activities that will allow investors to engage and to benefit from those land area. Specific other lands are currently under the design phase, and whenever we have any new announcement, we make sure to announce that as soon as possible. So I'm very proud to announce that as of 2023, we have approved around 69 investments with a total of 1.4 billion Kuwaiti dinar. And in terms of the accurate expenditure, because once we establish our companies, we take a look at the economic impact that they have in Kuwait. And up to 2021, those impact has extended to 795 million Kuwaiti dinar. Our goal is to diversify our country, and so therefore we've been managing to invest in multiple sectors, gradually increasing every sector as we go along. We're also very proud to announce that we are partners with our consulting companies. We are the vice president of WIPA, and today KDIPA is also joining Saudi Arabia. And as well as we are very much great partners to government authorities, and as well as to the Ministry of Commerce. Those are what we call our success stories. It's a great pleasure to have them a part of KDIPA. And I hope as the year goes by, we'll have much more successful stories to talk about. I thank you so much. Again, Alex and team, for allowing KDIPA to join your webinar. And I will be here at the end to welcome your questions and comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bashar. That was very informative and very helpful. And I can personally attest that we have a number of clients that have gone through and are applying, and they've received nothing but first-class assistance, very proactive team members at KDIPA, and I expect to see a lot more big multinationals come into the country over the next period. Well, look, at this point, I want to jump in right into some of the key issues. And the first is what's going on across the region, recent developments. I'd like to start with Mohammed Al-Mandil. Tell us what's going on in Saudi Arabia these days.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Bashar. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Well, there's a lot of developments in Saudi Arabia. Apparently, I mean, the new. Well, let's go back to 2000, when the first foreign investment law was issued. There has been obviously a huge development since then, and a lot of incentives and promotion of business in Saudi. But most recent development that just occurred on the 22nd of July, the new investment law just was announced, and it will be enacted on the 22nd of January of the coming year. This new law is different from the previous law, where it does not mention the word foreign. So the government is really keen on putting both parts in the same category, whether it's foreign or direct or local investments. However, given also more incentives and assurances and to foreign investment, that these investments are protected in the country. Obviously, all are in line with the vision of 2030. Since it was announced in 2016, not a single quarter that Saudi does not issue a new law or new regulations related to a particular industry, from all different sectors, really, from agriculture all the way to military industries, healthcare, education, you name it. Obviously, the concentration of this new law is obviously to make business much more easy. And the government is consistently working on improving the ease of business in the country. More regular, reducing bureaucracy as much as they can, introducing more platforms for various business procedures. I would just give an example. 3 or 4 years ago, an application to just incorporate a company would take 2 to 3 months. Now it has been reduced to probably a week to 2 weeks to obtain the necessary government documents allowing a company to fully operate in that field. They mentioned in the new coming law, however, we're still waiting for the implementing regulations, and we've tried obtaining as much as we can, but they said it's still in the making, so allow us some time. However, they emphasized that there will be a lot of protections and incentives for foreign investments in the country. There are many different new zones, special economic zones, that also will be given special treatments. However, also, in addition, if you bring on more technology and innovation, also they're promising to help more and more. And also working with the Public Investment Fund, which is the Wealth Sovereign Fund, is also giving incentives to those who work with them, securing the mega projects that they're working on in the country in various parts of the kingdom. The list moves on in terms of what can you do. Now it is minimal that we can see any of the industries that you need to have Saudi participation. It's only certain industries. I would say the trading license, the professional companies or professional partnership companies that needs a bit of 25% of Saudi participation. However, they're promising that this will be soon taken into consideration with the new implementing regulations. Other than that, a company can come to Saudi Arabia, form a fully 100% owned limited liability company or joint stock in all different sectors, whether it's services, manufacturing, etc. Also, the number of documents that needs to be provided for that have been reduced throughout the years. We've seen that the Saudis have just signed the Apostille Convention, which reduces the bureaucracy of just obtaining, the required documents, the constitutional documents of any company. Financial statements have been reduced to probably just 1 rather than 3. Well-established, making profits of developments in that field, and I'm happy to go more, but I'm straight with the timing. But happy to answer any question going forward.
No, that's very helpful. Dean, what about Qatar? What are the recent developments there?
Well, Qatar, I would say, is following the general trends around the region as well. Our most recent foreign investment law was issued in 2019. The executive regulations followed in 2020. The previous foreign investment law dated back to 2000, so you could say that was a change that was a long time coming. It was basically 20 years in the works. And the general ideas in the new foreign investment law and executive regulations are the same. FDI has been opened up wide. There are many commercial activities now that are open for 100% foreign ownership. That list kind of fluctuates, and it's often communicated by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry in Qatar. So the most recent list of permitted activities that they put out, I believe around 12 months ago, included around excess of 1,000 commercial activities. And many of them very sort of in demand, very desirable commercial activities, things that covered economic sectors like healthcare, education, trading, construction, even F&B, commercial activity that I know a lot of foreign investors, at least maybe not the huge MNCs, but a lot of the SMEs are very interested in. And now that's open for 100% foreign ownership, which was not the case for many countries around the region for a very long time. A sort of related topic, not quite FDI for commercial activity, but still FDI, is real estate ownership. So again, Qatar is following a trend that maybe some countries in the region, but not all, have kind of coursed over the last few years, which is opening up some areas, some designated areas around the country to 100% foreign ownership, freehold title all the way. So this is another interesting area to watch, and also an example of the sort of the direction that the country is taking.
Very interesting. Okay. Well, as we look at other issues, once you are set up, what are some key limitations and restrictions from an operational perspective that you see across the region? Hamid Al-Hawadi, talk to us about from a Kuwait perspective.
Yeah. So first of all, I can't start, Alex, without thanking KDIPA and the representative today. We always say about the regulators having a much more proactive approach, and we've seen them since day one, because a person I know, the managing partner, Alex Saleh, submitted the first KDIPA application, and he always tells us how things have progressed from day one back in, I think, 2014 now, which is 10 years ago, till where KDIPA is right now, and where the understanding of the market and also the consultants, external like us lawyers, play a pivotal, a bigger role in this. So that's the first I'd like to say. The second key limitation.
I did get Kuwait investment license number 1 from KDIPA for my clients, so I do
exactly. Yeah.
I had a little bit.
Yeah. So Alex is a bit of an oldie, but the newer generation is here now to help guide the new companies and establishment. And we always pride ourselves in having a very good relationship with all the regulators. I think KDIPA is one of the top regulators with our relationship with them from day one, establishment of these big international entities until the day we have regular meetings with the head of KDIPA, Sheikh Mishal, and all the other employees. So we're always here to help. But the key limitations, I think, from a regulatory perspective, as Bashir has mentioned, I think, which revolve around real estate ownership. And that is something you'd see in the region mostly, in having restrictions on land ownership. But what KDIPA has done is it has a very good leasing program. So if you want to set up shop in Kuwait, you will have the KDIPA land structure, which Bashir has explained shortly in her presentation, but that is always something they help out with. Another aspect which you will find also in the region is Kuwaiticization. So having a number of Kuwaiti employees based on your activities. So when you set up a foreign entity, that does not mean you can offload all your foreign employees into Kuwait. So you still have that percentage to hit when you submit your business plan. The third, I think, limitation or restriction is with your employee files. So the regulator from a governmental perspective in Kuwait for all your employee files is under the Public Authority for Manpower, and the authorized signatory has to be a Kuwaiti employee. So that is something you have to reflect on the authorized signatory part. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of key limitations and restrictions are known before you submit your application. So you will not be amazed one day with having KDIPA knocking on your door, giving you more restrictions. Their job is here to help out, and this is also our job. So things are moving on here in Kuwait.
Excellent. What about Saudi in terms of key limitations? What do you see from your perspective, Mr. Mendil?
Well, it's really getting minimized to a big significance. There are certain negative lists as well that similar to the Kuwait approach that Bashir mentioned. In Saudi there are, but it's reducing and it's been updated on a regular basis. I would say the most important and most recent matter that arose in Saudi Arabia is the matter related to the RHQ, which is regional headquarters. The government have issued a new regulation that was implemented and started in the 1st of January of this year, that any company or foreign entity that wishes to participate in any tenders or contracts with the government, and also semi-government, or also probably also a PIF as a sovereign wealth fund, is emphasized as well to take the same approach by having a company moving its regional headquarters, if they have any in the region, to Saudi Arabia. This is any contracts that are above 1 million. But at the same time, they're asking companies to transfer to Saudi Arabia and to have a workforce on the ground rather than a briefcase business and move on to somewhere else in the region or elsewhere. They want to see people on the ground with families living in Saudi and participating in the economic growth of Saudi Arabia as well. So this is I wouldn't say it's a limitation to a certain extent, but still it's also given incentives that they can contract and they can do business easily, and also be given incentives in Saudi Arabia. The ministry, as I understand, also going back for what incentives are providing, that they are also now splitting the Ministry of Investment into two parts. First, as the ministry would be always kept as the regulator. However, the promoter, we will have an investment authority that promotes business, and it will be responsible and facilitating all the needs of foreign investments in the country by linking any of the activities that are in need of business in Saudi, whether it's funding. If I would say a manufacturing company that needs support, it will be requesting probably funding from the Saudi Industrial Investment Fund. They will be able to facilitate that and provide it. Restrictions, it is important to have, from an operation perspective, Saudization. As what Mohammed Al-Awadi, my colleagues, just mentioned, Kuwaitization, Saudization, you will hear it also, Emiratization, Qatarization. It is becoming really important. As Bashir also mentioned, given that 65% of the population is below 18, Saudi is taking into consideration that the workforce is coming and needs to be employed. We've seen a huge, significant improve in the market and employment rates being reduced. However, they're emphasizing more and more, and they're having increasing the threshold on all fields and all sectors on a regular basis, and it's happening periodically, not just annual. And they want to see more and more Saudization, and also to be keeping on with the businesses and the updates that are occurring on a regular basis in Saudi Arabia, whether it's policies, new regulations, new laws, etc.
Excellent. What about you, Dean? What would you say?
Yeah, so Qatar is similar to many of the other jurisdictions in the region in some ways. So the good news is that there are, again, no real capital controls to speak of over here. So companies that are successful, that have distributable profits have no real issues getting their capital outside of the country, whether they are incorporated onshore or mainland under the Ministry of Commerce or in any of the other sort of special jurisdictions here. It's not an issue, and it hasn't been really, to the best of my attention, I don't even know how long. Tax is different. So the tax system, mainland Qatar, is a little bit more complicated than, let's say, maybe some of the jurisdictions in the region. Qatar is not a no tax jurisdiction, at least not mainland. Maybe in Qatar Free Zone or some other special jurisdiction, but ministry, mainland state companies, let's say, they are subject to a sort of very unique tax structure, which is that 10% of the corporate income, the corporate profits, are taxed. That's the applicable tax rate, but only on the portion of the profit that is attributable to foreign shareholders. So even if you have a, let's say, 51-49 legal shareholding split, if the profit share split is different to that, then the tax would be applied based on the profit share split. And that's been the case for a very long time. Another trend here that's sort of following the region or recent development, the real hot topic actually these days is Qatarization. So it's been obviously discussed for a long time, but only a month ago, I believe, was there finally the enactment of the Qatarization law. So that law provides that there will be preference given for Qatari citizens and the children of Qatari mothers in the hiring process. The executive regulations have not been issued yet. They are expected to be issued maybe in the next 6 months or so. And then, of course, that will become very, very important. The general ideas are somewhat clear. There's still a lot of detail to be filled in. So one is whether this will apply to all legal entities in the country across the jurisdictions. I don't think they will, but that still remains to be determined. Whether there's going to be a sort of minimum size of employer based on revenue or headcount, or if this applies basically to all small companies. Maybe some details of the process, but make no mistake, Qatarization is coming just the same way that Kuwaitization, Saudization, Emiratization followed, have also come through in the past decade across the region.
Excellent. Well, let's move on to some issues now in terms of the application process. Mohammed Al-Awadi, what have you seen in terms of pitfalls when parties are actually applying for the FDI application?
Okay, so I think common pitfalls are also common elsewhere in the region. So notarization of all documents and attestation. So that process takes a long time. So when you want to establish an entity, KDIPA will ask for a number of documents. These documents have to be fully legalized, notarized in the country where the foreign entity resides in, and then we'll do the whole process back in Kuwait. So always make sure your documents are notarized, fully legalized to the last needed step, and then bring them in Kuwait. And then once they're in Kuwait, we or KDIPA can help on the other aspect. Another thing we also always recommend is have all your documents ready. Some people always they emphasize the importance of having the application filed and issued in time, but they do not have the full set of documents. So in your initial sittings or meetings with KDIPA, be sure to have all the documents asked by KDIPA ready and have that with you. And then the third thing, the final pitfall we see in companies when submitting, their business plan is somewhere, and then their establishment and then how to implement is somewhere else. So always be sure to stick to your business plan and be sure to communicate any changes you have to your KDIPA employee handling your file, to your external counsel, to the employees there in KDIPA, for them to guide you and help you when having any amendments.
Wonderful. What about the rest of the other jurisdictions?
I would say I would second what Mohammed just mentioned. In Saudi is the same. However, I just mentioned that They've signed the Postal Convention that makes life much easier for applicants. Even predictions don't provide undertakings that are beyond the capacity of a company. What's more important, what I've seen lately, really, it's a lot of companies that come to Saudi or have been already in Saudi before, then they slept on it. The company has become dormant. Now they wake up, they want to do business. How can we start the engine again? And it's extremely a very difficult task, going to all different authorities, asking them how can we reignite our engine, how can we put our managers on, etc. This is really becoming a common issue with all foreign companies that are in Saudi. Also, the most important factor is to keep up with the practical matters in terms of updating your articles. They keep asking for companies to do that on a regular basis whenever the law changes or there are updates in the laws. Keep on with all the different government programs that are in line with the changes of these laws, whether it's human resources, the Ministry of Human Resources practices, or it's the taxation. Taxes and VAT is becoming very, very critical. They are chasing these companies on a regular basis, and it's becoming more and more strict. The government is saying, as much as we will provide incentives, we will still come at you at any time and will ask for the books, and you have to be ready for giving us all that information.
Okay. And in Qatar?
Yeah, very similar to what Mohammed and Mohammed have described in Saudi and Kuwait. I would just
on the legalization process, Saudi or Kuwait?
Closer to Kuwait, I believe. I don't think that we are members of the Apostille Convention. Even though in some of the other special jurisdictions in Qatar, it is okay to proceed without going through the entire notarization, legalization, translation process. For mainland state ministry companies, that is still the process. I'm sure that most of the people attending this webinar are very familiar with that process, especially the other lawyers on this call, whether they have presence and experience in the region or otherwise, or are based in other markets. For non-lawyers, I would say that you cannot underestimate how particular and how important this process is to make sure that all foreign documents are properly drafted and also properly executed and legalized. You have to get this right every step of the way. And if this is done incorrectly, if even one key document is not properly executed, then you may have to start over from step one. And that could, in theory, double the amount of time that it takes to get something done, even if it's just one out of, let's say, 10, 15 documents. The other thing that I would add, at least for Qatar, is that, of course, lawyers who do have local experience are very much needed in order to make sure things like corporate resolutions, powers of attorney, and even proposed constitutional documents for the new company are properly drafted. But even for things like your business plan, to a lesser extent, the sort of financial model, it's still helpful to have a second set of eyes from a local legal perspective, because we may be able to catch things that we know the local regulators might be looking for.
Okay. That's wonderful to hear. Bashar, you've listened to from these three jurisdictions, including your own with Kuwait. What do you think about some of these issues we've raised?
Yeah, I agree with, of course, my colleague in certain aspects. I do definitely believe that the attestation process is very much a hassle. I like what Saudi Arabia is doing. I think it might be a pathway that we should consider as well. It's because we follow the Ministry of Commerce, so that's why we're kind of stuck within those specific requirements. But I definitely believe that KDIPA can emphasize on specific changes. I think it should be time. In terms of Kuwaitization, yes. Now the thing is with KDIPA, I think the investor has a little bit more of a flexibility. Kuwaitization is definitely one of our criteria. It's definitely one of our goals, but it's not an utmost requirement, if that makes sense. We have a set of 15 criteria. And again, as I've mentioned previously, we aim to have a more qualified company rather than any other aspect. Now, if the investor wishes to have specific foreign labor, not to have any Kuwaitization, and is capable of satisfying 5 of the 15 criteria, then they'll be able to establish their company with no issue. If we take a look at it from the Manpower Authority, they will only find companies that have 25 plus total labor in their file. If they do have less, they won't be fined, and they can have just foreign labors. Of course, it doesn't quite go with what we're trying to encourage investors to be, but we do understand that at certain aspects, coming and investing is a hassle. Getting specific project might be another hassle. Going through specific regulation is another hassle. So we do like to give our investors the time to maybe start employing as they go with their process and their business, and not necessarily at the beginning. It's sometimes we do have that agreement with our investor. We've definitely done that in the past. What else did I want to go through? I think that's mainly it, honestly. There's another thing that we've about to also issue, which is the foreign labor iqama. Mohammed, if you can help me there.
Residency permit.
Yes, thank you very much. So it's something that KDIPA will also be taking charge for the managers of our entities. We're giving them a much more longer period, much better flexibility. We're working on also adjusting our criteria to help ensure that the business plan is not much of a hassle. We're planning to, in the very near future, inshallah, introduce much more incentives, much better facilitation, reduce papers overall, to maybe overcome all of those pitfalls and any things that might not be very beneficial at this stage.
Alex, may I just add one point for the knowledge and the benefit of everyone? I mean, yes, the laws can be clear sometimes. The laws can have ambiguity. It is important and crucial. I'm not bragging because we are a law firm, but you need someone on the ground, whether it's an employee who knows the system, whether it's a law firm, whether it's an advisor. It's really crucial to always have someone that have connection between the company and the authorities, or the practical aspects that the company needs to have in place and updated on a regular basis.
100%. And look, and it's okay to pat ourselves on the back as one of the largest regional firms. We're doing a number of these applications in Saudi, Kuwait, Qatar, across the region. And I think the value add that we have as a firm is we have so many locals, Kuwaitis, Saudis, and so forth that have wonderful relations with the regulators and work on this is a win-win basis for ourselves, our clients, and the country. So it's all going well, and I think there's a lot more to do, but I think we're definitely going in the right direction. We've got 3 minutes left, and I wanted to get to a couple of the questions. To the extent we can't get to all of them, we're going to get back by email. But one of the first ones I see is that the WLL in Kuwait with 100% foreign equity will only allow one shareholder. That's one way of doing it, but you can actually have multiple shareholders as well. So, a lot of times the multinationals prefer, but sometimes when they're coming in on a consortium basis, they actually want to have a local partner with them as well. So it all depends on your particular strategy. For the most part, it is 100%, but I've seen where with local partners, they want to do things together, and they want the local partner to have a piece, and then they bring them in for maybe a minority piece.
Or
Another-
potentially multiple foreign investors. I think we don't see it that often, but I don't think it's prohibited.
Just want to get to the second question too. It states that Mustafa references that he mentions that with the relaxation of the company's law, several governments have shifted gears, and you see less need for foreign investors to be represented via agents and distributors. Well, there's a legal and then there's a commercial aspect. A lot of times the local agents and distributors, especially in like things like retail and auto dealerships, you need that person on the ground because they have that local expertise. They know how to sell. So even to the extent that you can, I've seen foreign companies that are coming in that want to be more than 49%. Still, you bringing in their agents or distributors. It's almost like a restructure where they bring them in for 20%, 25%, 30% because they are adding value. Yes, legally they don't need them, but commercially, business-wise, and whatnot, there's a lot of value that these merchant families add because they've been doing this for so long. So yes, what's happening because of the liberalization, you do see some restructuring taking place, but the local merchant families who have played the role of agents and distributors are still coming in as partners, maybe not as majority, but there's still a lot of value. So we're at the 1 minute mark now. So we have a few other questions, and I promise that we will get to all of them vis-a-vis email afterwards. We always do, and we're always available even if there's new questions that are asked that you haven't brought up, because I do see about 5-6 questions. So I just want to get very quickly to the closing remarks now that we've hit the 60-minute mark. I think as just demonstrated by both our esteemed representative from the Kuwait government, Ms. Bashir, and our GLA reps from across the region, there is amazing opportunities now for foreign companies to invest in and have control of their own destinies. That didn't exist a few years ago. I've seen the change, and I've seen a lot more proactiveness by the governments themselves who know that in a global competitive world, attracting an investment is one of the key metrics to how a or a jurisdiction will develop. I'm very bullish on the GCC as a whole in this regard, and you're going to see, I think, a lot more FDI coming into the region. We didn't cover UAE today because UAE is done an amazing job, probably one of the best jobs in the world. And I think what's happened in the UAE is giving a lot of confidence to the rest of the jurisdictions, the Saudis, the Kuwaits, and the Qataris to up their game. And I think you're going to see a lot more over the next couple of years. We're at the forefront of working with a lot of the companies to bring them in, and we hope to see a lot more in the future. So I just want to end the session there to let everyone know that we will get back on the questions afterwards, and to thank everyone for attending, and to thank our panelists for spending their time with us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
And I think we'll be signing off at this point.